I'm stealing your agency. The Mendaciology of trust. How can someone else make you believe things that are lies? How can we prevent ourselves from being misled? There is fundamental science that tells us, and the conclusion is not the one you think it is. The science is the science of lies, Mendaciology, which is a cognitive science. More specifically, Mendaciology is a computational cognitive neuroscience, but its findings are something any human being can easily verify for himself because, precisely, we speak in natural human language to each other. Read on to confirm for yourself. When we define a lie as not the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, we are defining a lie solely in terms of truth. More specifically, a lie defined this standard legal way derives in a subset of truth assertions, where at least one assertion is a lie. The lie, or lies in the subset, have a deceit about fact or the motivation for the assertions. For example, dictator lies are often, indeed most often, factually true, but with the motivation to take all liberty to the dictator, at the expense of the liberty of everyone else. The dictator is trusted because he does speak the truth most all the time. But he lies, dictator lies. First, get elected, then. Medium.com. We know from computational cognitive neuroscience that set of unconscious assertions supporting any assertion you say is a large number. It would not surprise me as a student of Mendaciology if that number is unbelievably large, like thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions. To give some perspective, your neocortex, the new brain that you mainly see when you look at a human brain, has about 100 billion neurons, and each has about 3,000 synapses, which means about 300 trillion, or 300 trillion synapses that could be sparking off but don't at any moment in time. Using blood flow fMRI real-time imaging or direct electrical action imaging, we can see a simple sentence light up not one synapse or even 1,000, which we cannot actually see with fMRI or any other technique, but about a cubic centimeter of neocortex or 90 billion synapses, 300,000ths, or 0.003% of your brain to think about something for less than 10 seconds, anything. 90 billion synapses sparking away for a second or two on one simple sentence like Trump lies. For detail and technical references, read my book. And our understanding of neural type computation, such as the one you are using when you search on Google to ask Alexa a question, suggests this number could handle discriminating even a much, much larger number of sentences' subject-predicate concepts. We still do not know how all this works, but we can directly observe the brain activity that gives us such rough estimates of the amount of computation and what information it is processing. All this sparking in your brain for a sentence as simple as Trump lies or banal sentence like, the restaurant had a lot of windows. We still are very far away from knowing exactly how these computations work, but we can observe the numbers. By the way, anybody that claims he understands how the brain computes exactly is lying. We can see the stars, but we are still trying to figure out what they are saying. The brain is not like the computer in your cell phone, which is a very, very, very crude computer compared to your brain, even though it is almost certainly true that the cell phone in your pocket is the most advanced computer humankind has ever invented. Sigmund Freud was vastly more correct than even he thought when he talked about the unconscious as a Mendaciologist. I would not be surprised if someone proved one day that what you say consciously in one sentence is only 0.0000001% of all the knowledge your brain actively brought to bear on the decision to say that one simple sentence. And we talk all the time, in much more complicated sentences than Trump lies. It is utterly amazing what our neocortical minds can do. But these facts, however rough the estimates we have today, still lead to some other important conclusions about how you lose your agency to lies. Even the simplest sentence you can say carries with it a large number of possible sentences your brain selected not to say. And any sentence you hear and understand stimulates a large number of possible sentences your brain used to verify what the person meant. And, as I proved in my book on the cognitive science of lying, every sentence can be a lie, and every lie can be the truth. To make matters only as complicated as they have to be, any story can be a sentence, and any sentence can tell a whole story. Again, see my book. The predication context, the subset of all the possible sentences around the sentence you say or understand, can bend any sentence to be a lie or a truth. Christopher Wiley, in his book Mind FCK, argued that people's votes, what they believed is true, can be taken from them using social media. He was obviously right. We all saw this in 2016 and still see it today, no matter your political persuasion as to who is lying to who. He suggested that this was a theft of a person's agency, your own self-will, your ability to make decisions yourself, your belief as to what is true and what is a lie. He further argued, I think correctly, that the original idea that government had to protect every person's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness had failed to assert there was fourth thing the government must protect is an inalienable right of man, a person's agency. Back 200 years ago, we simply understood everyone was responsible for his own agency. We never thought it could be stolen in our explicit dialogue about the government's obligations. But that is not exactly true. George Washington, in his farewell address, required a government to have an enlightened populace. Almost certainly this meant that the people, individually, would not fall for lies. But Wiley suggested that the government should make this an explicit obligation. That means we should consider laws that protect people's agency. Mendaciology says this is a necessary obligation of government in today's world of human communications. So how and when does a person give up his agency? The answer is, all the time. We do this because the number of sentences we are processing at any given moment is a large number, and, frankly, our brains are not suited to keeping track of every sentence's truth in every possible context. The science says that most of the sentences we communicate are not thought of as particularly true or false. This, too, is discussed in detail in my book in the chapter on the "This sentence is a lie" paradox. It is a matter of trust. Since we defined lies solely as truth in set theory terms, we can define trust as a set of sentences that could be said in our neocortical minds are also considered true. Trust is a neocortical field of possible assertions determined by a communication source that we will believe is true, because as a practical matter we cannot verify all those assertions ourselves. Our brains just cannot do it in the short periods of time. It has to process the sentences we spew out, write, hear, or read. You trust people all the time. Most people trust their mother to tell them the truth. So whatever she says is taken seriously. Furthermore, and this is the science, whatever she didn't say but we think she said, we also take seriously. We believe all those supporting assertions are true too. So what must the government do to provide legal protection against the theft of agency? The answer is to establish who can be trusted to tell the truth about certain things. Those people are then obliged never to tell a lie about those things. Never, ever. If they ever do, they can be prosecuted for the most heinous form of lying. Lying by someone you trust never to really lie. That would be the new kind of law. Fortunately, like all law, it is not actually new. For example, lawyers are bound to tell the truth in certain circumstances. We are all bound to tell the truth if we are under oath at a trial. These examples alone prove Wiley's supposition that government should be obliged to protect the agency of its people, individually. Now we just need to figure out other times and circumstances where speakers or writers, artists, video producers, etc. can be trusted and formulate the law to punish them if they lie. Our brains just cannot take reality any other way. It is the way we know what is true. It is how we necessarily understand truth. Humans are animals that have perfected neocortex to neocortex, ultra-high bandwidth communications, using human natural language to communicate truth and lies. Our natural language gives us this power and this fate. On this point, the power and the fate we have known the consequences of ignoring the power for 400 years. Because fiat lies exist. Fiat lies are suspected lies for which human dialogue with someone you trust is infeasible for any reason whatsoever, leads to the most horrific end without the good laws under a benign government that George Washington asked us to preserve. Fiat lies are genocide on the human race, the internet court of lies, medium.com. So what should these new laws be that protect the theft of your agency? I will leave that as homework. You will find this a rich and wonderful world to think about. If, that is, you think like a Mendaciologist who studies lies, that is the truth, I think. But you should verify it yourself. Here is more of the science and why we had better learn it. Who humiliates you? Liars. That's why they lie. Medium.com.